I swear the intro to this video can honestly kick rocks. It's completely silent now, right? And not even 5 minutes ago, I was filming an ASMR Train Your Brain using like hypnosis, low lights, low sounds, perfect, beautiful sound, everything. And then my neighbor, God love him, and his wife, they are older. They are amazing, very active in the community. He's a very, and he knows this, he's a very loud older person. Not because he can't hear, not because like of any other issue other than he's just very loud and animated. Love him to death, but I mean, even us living relatively distant from one another, you can hear him like half a mile away. So I guess he decided to stop leaf blowing and talking. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. I was going to film this video anyway. I just wanted to film it later on in the day. So if you're watching this today when it gets put out, you're probably going to see an ASMR video later in the day, which doesn't work for my schedule, and I'm just annoyed. So, but today I am going to be talking about my health. I think that with everything that has gone on the past couple years in regards to like losing my schedule, I mean, I used to post like every single day, maybe miss a day, and now it's so hard. It is so hard to do any type of like relative active routine in my life, let alone having a filming schedule. And I'm very blessed to have the job that I do, and I do plan on keeping the job that I do until the day that I croak out. It's very difficult. So let's talk a little bit about my health. I don't know if you notice anything different about me. I have put on quite a bit of weight. I used to weigh 127. Now, whenever my diagnosis of Graves' disease started, and now I weigh almost 150. It has nowhere to go, so it's going in all these random places, but the places that I want. For example, I have a nice little peach now. However, I also have thick ankles, which could be from swelling from fluid around my heart, which we're going to get into. It's a lot. So a little backstory. Back in 2017, you might remember it was on this channel, I had posted a video just titled "Help" in lowercase letters. I'm bawling in the video, like freaking out, just bawling my eyes out, begging people because my clarity, my cognitive function had been completely debilitated. I was convinced for 3 months straight, after laying in bed day after day after day, ER visit after ER visit after ER visit, test results coming back or negative, like nothing was wrong. I was perfectly healthy in the medical field's eyes, and I was not, though. There was even talk of me like potentially disassociating, like it being a, mental issue, something like that. Not a, cognitive is technically, but anyway, and I was laying in bed for like 3 months, so I was convinced that it was a mold allergy. And you see this often now after years and years and years of research, personal experience, talking with others. I am 100% aware that a lot of chronically ill patients start off the same exact road that I did. The same exact road. You're going to hear me repeating a lot because it's just interesting how my life became very full circle with my health journey, especially in the times that I was clinging on to dear life, begging, hundreds of thousands of people to give me the help that I couldn't understand. People back then even were saying inflammation in the body, inflammation in the brain, blah, blah, blah. And I was convinced because I wasn't familiar with the medical field, or I didn't have PTSD from the medical field, or that, it was just something very simple like a bug or an allergy, or, I had thought at one point that my brain was like giving me early dementia. Like it was really an awful time. So After the brain fog episodes, they started coming on and off. 2017 went on, 2018 came on. I was getting a lot of plastic surgeries such as liposuction, breast implants. Remember, I had my breast implants removed at one point. I had done a lot to my body. However, the brain fog did not start until probably about 3 to 4 months prior to my first set of breast implants. So I do not relate any of those sicknesses that I may have had early on to the breast implants. However, I do still have that inkling that my Graves' disease did come from my silicone breast implants, but that's to be speculated on another video at a different time. Today I just want to talk about the timeline and how that happened. So long story short though, 2018 went by, 2019 I was still feeling okay, 2020 came around, and I absolutely lost my mind. This was also the same time that COVID happened. You know, we were in quarantine. That year was pretty much a blur. I didn't really feel much of any health problems. 2021 came by, and that's when everything started. I had a psychotic episode. I went into psychosis. It was to the point that everybody in my life, whether that be my mother, my sister-in-law, my husband, had to walk me around just because I was losing my mind. I laid naked on the floor of my bathroom in just turmoil, and you know, it was awful, just staring at the ceiling, waiting for my heart to stop, because that's what had happened. 2021, I remember I was taking my kids to school one morning. It was right before summer, right before school let out, and I was at the light near my home. We live a few miles from the elementary school where my kids go to school. However, I live about a mile from the high school in the woods. I live in the middle of the woods, in like a giant cul-de-sac. It's a very interesting layout. So I'd got the kids in the car. It didn't even hit me. It was like a moment of realization. I'm trying to get this timeline started, hopefully around 10, 15 minutes, and then we can go. I'll leave a timestamp. We were on the road. It was me and my 2 kids. And we had hit one of the lights maybe 2 miles away from my home. And I just, had a panic attack. And the panic attack was to the point that I had to pull off, put my 4-ways on, get out of the car. It was very awful. It was only for a few moments, but I ended up getting back in the car. It did subside. There was no reason for it. There was no trigger. I didn't know what was going on. So at that time, there was a lot of abuse going on with my mother and I, a lot of mental abuse, a lot of neglect, like a lot of issues that were coming up from the past that was happening in the present. Like there was a lot going on at that time. My sister-in-law had just moved in with us. School was about to let out. I was starting to have some problems, and quarantine was still technically going on. I had my first panic attack, and then that had continued for like a week. So eventually it got to the point that I don't know where. Oh, if you watched my 3-hour video, if not, my mother had pulled a big stunt on me at the time. And that's when I started going into psychosis, which turned out to be my thyroid. My mother had said that she was going to die a year before she actually died on the day. It's a very interesting story if you want to watch it. It's a 3-hour video. It's over on my main channel. But yeah, my mother decided to lie to get some attention because her and I had stopped talking for months prior. She wanted to make up for it, had trouble apologizing because she was an awfully awful person. She was a narcissist. She was extremely abusive to all of us. Long story short, she said that her doctor told her that her heart was like going to stop soon, something along those lines. And I ended up, she told me that she was dying, essentially. She was about to die. So we came up to her house, like she transferred the house in my name, transferred all of this stuff into my name, and was like, yeah, you're like, I went to see her attorney with her, everything. It was extremely serious. We had discussed what would happen if she went on hospice. Basically, it foreshadowed for the year ahead, but none of us knew that. Like, she didn't even know that. But then it turns out she's like, come with me to my heart doc. Heart failure, that was it. She said that she was in end stages of heart failure and there was fluid around her heart, which is now around my heart. So I went to the appointment with her that she talked about for weeks, and the doctor had no idea what she was talking about, said that that was never stated, that she was at the healthiest time in her life. It was a year before her 5-year mark from her open heart surgery. She had a heart attack 4 years prior. There's a 5-year survival rate. She died 10 days before that day. A year later, from that situation, all right, let me not get too ahead of myself, but just hurrying up here. After she pulled that stunt, I was devastated. I was heartbroken, but I was also traumatized because everyone in my family has died from heart-related issues. Everyone. Like, whether that be my mom's mom, my dad's mom, every single one of them except for both my grandfathers, lung cancer from mesothelioma or something along those lines, asbestos and working in the coal mines, and then my other grandfather from Alzheimer's, a stroke, and so on. Everybody else has died, and everybody in my family is dead. I don't have anyone except for my brother, who him and I don't talk. He is everybody should know about him. So long story short, I was devastated, but then again, the day of my mother lying to me and me finding that out, it was just a thought that popped in my head that I was dying. I don't know, other than my thyroid, I don't know what had happened. They say that Graves' disease can come out of nowhere. It can be developed from trauma. I have CPTSD, which is essentially PTSD that is happened over a long period of time. I don't know if maybe that stemmed it, but that day I ended up going to the ER because I felt like a heart palpitation, and it was from then on out that I started going into a psychosis. It took 2 weeks. It was from that day I went to the ER. They did an EKG. EKG was fine, and it went on and on. I ended up just starting to go crazy. I was going to the ER every day. You can find this out on the 3-hour video. Every single day going to the ER, to the point that they were like, have you considered going on SSRIs? Have you considered calling a therapist? Have you, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I ended up checking myself into the psych ward that year, and it was a really awful time. I was showing dementia-like symptoms. I didn't know where I was. I had begged, doctors had no idea what to do with me, because I was still coherent to talk very articulate. Wow, that messes up what I'm trying to say. Articulately. I don't know. I was, able to still speak in a, human to human tone. I wasn't showing any signs of mental illness at the time, but I begged those doctors, please, please, please check my heart. I'm going to die. I was in a psychosis. So long story short, fast forward, ended up coming home. It was an awful time. Symptoms still got worse. I started rapidly losing weight. My heart rate was starting to, I have always had heart problems. On my EKGs, my ST2 waves are always, they're not there. It's like they don't exist. I have extra beats. There's, I have pre-existing heart conditions that are harmless, but they're there. So, that midsummer 2021, checked myself in the psych ward for a psychosis of unknown origin. Come home, had periods of racing heart. Then I'd have periods that my heart would just slow down, it wouldn't beat at all. So 2022 or later on 2021, got my breast implants taken out. It was a massive surgery. It gave me post-surgical AFib, which is when your heart isn't beating in the correct rhythm. It can cause heart attack, stroke. It's an awful thing to have. But AFib usually happens from heart attacks or causes heart attacks, whatever. So got my breast implants out, huge surgery, ended up getting a hematoma in my left breast, my right breast, ended up having to get a tube in my right breast. Very traumatizing things that were going on at that time. My body was not responding well to the healing of that surgery. Fast forward to February of 2022, not even a month between to heal. I mean, this was a massive surgery. I had my ribs scraped, my bones scraped. I have chronic costochondritis because of that, which is pain around your chest wall. My mother called me in 2022. She was in the middle of a massive heart attack. She chose to go on hospice. I sat vigil with her for 10 days, blah, blah, blah. I've memorized this goddamn story because I've had to tell it 1,000 times for, different reasons. Luckily in 2021, though, when I went into the psych ward, checked myself involuntarily, I met my therapist, who is one of the most absolutely brilliant human beings I have ever met. He is the reincarnation of my father, if there was one. I am so honored to still have him in my life. I'm very grateful. I'd post a picture of us, but I'm not giving away any of that information. No way. And that's a situation I've learned too, not to overshare on the internet anymore. However, I feel like this situation fits with my current issues that would benefit from being told to all of you as to why I don't post as often anymore and why I look the way I do, act the way I do, and feel the way I do. So early 2022, my mother calls, has a massive heart attack. I was the one to take care of her alone. I was the one to help walk her home alone. It was extremely traumatizing these past few years. And I do feel that's why I do have Graves' disease, because, again, Graves' disease can happen with trauma. When my mother died, her test results before she died, because when she went into the hospital, they did a CT scan, and it showed she had free fluid all around her body. She had gallstones, which right now I'm getting referred to surgery because my gallbladder is distended 7 millimeters, way off than what it should be. After my mother died and I helped walk her home randomly on hospice, still healing from my breast surgery, Munchkin got incredibly ill, and many of you know that situation. I am not allowed to talk about what occurred after he got sick. However, he almost died, and that was excruciatingly painful. After that happened, things got okay for a little bit. I had a good summer, and then that late August, we went to the beach, and it was to the point that, like, something was wrong with my throat. My throat was all swollen. I had no idea about my thyroid at the time. That's when I was diagnosed with my Graves' disease. At first, they thought it was thyroiditis, which is like when your thyroid just randomly goes crazy. It could be from getting sick. It could be from blah, blah, blah. But then they did the test for Graves' disease, whatever antibody it is, and I tested positive. They've done several since then. I have chronic Graves' disease. It's simple as that. My eyes, if you look at me, like if I get real close, you can see this one's bigger than the other. This one's darker than the other. I have a dystrophy in my eye called Stargardt's disease, which I'll get into later. So that's basically the backstory of how the main situation had happened. It started out with brain fog in 2017, and I ended up being diagnosed with Graves' disease in 2022. I will never forget how I knew something was wrong was my back and my heart. My heart was racing, and like I said, I have pre-existing heart conditions, but my heart was racing to the point that I was so out of breath. And it's funny because I went for a GI scope, or I got a scope of my throat. They took biopsies and everything. I had to leave vacation because there were so many symptoms, and I thought it was like a chest issue from my surgery or my throat, but it turns out it was undiagnosed Graves. But yeah, everybody was walking to the car on vacation. My sister-in-law and her boyfriend, my husband, and my 2 kids, and they were all running ahead of me. And I had weighed at the time because that's what Graves' disease does. You rapidly lose weight. I was, I think, back down to like 122, which I'm 5'7". I was stick thin again back in 2022. And nobody noticed it. Nobody noticed the symptoms because I was just, it was chronic with what had happened in 2022. But yeah, they were trying to find the car, and I remember my back had hurt so bad. I was like, something's not right. I should be able to catch up, if not be further than my own kids, or, have the energy that everybody else in the room does, but I didn't. So whenever we got back, I ended up getting the scope in my throat. They took a biopsy. Everything came back fine. And yeah, it got so bad to the point that I started getting anxiety attacks again, blah, blah, blah. Ended up going into the hospital because my heart rate wouldn't calm down. Got diagnosed with Graves. Ended up living a year almost. It was August to April. That's not a year at all. That's less than like August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. It was 8 months to when they were like, okay, you need to get your thyroid out. It's huge. So interestingly enough, though, they had done multiple CT scans on my thyroid. Ultrasounds found nothing. Nothing. I was diagnosed with a large goiter. If you guys have ever seen the Seinfeld episode with the girl, she's like, my goiter. And Elaine's just like, well, you know. But interestingly enough, there was no findings with that. So I lived from August to April, and things did get better. I went on a medication for people with Graves' disease called methimazole, and it was amazing. It absolutely made me feel better. However, my endocrinologist wanted me to get it out. So long story short, went in for surgery April of 2023, last year. The surgery itself was okay. However, I had a reaction to the ketamine that was given to me in surgery, and I had like some kind of awful dream. I think I've spoke of this before, that whenever I was waking up, I could hear my heart rate going like 1,000 miles per hour, and I mouthed that something was wrong, and the lady was like, you're getting out of surgery, honey, you're going to be fine. They injected me with metoprolol, which is a beta blocker they put me on at the time for my heart. And I remember I was like, I'm dying, I'm about to die. And it was like the moment that I was about to leave my body. And I'll never forget, it was a dream. That's all it was. It wasn't real. At least I don't think it was. And I remember like the ketamine dream or whatever, waking up from surgery, and like every single human being on this planet was connected to a machine. It was like the Matrix type shit, right? And I was waking up, and I remember I was getting disconnected from my machine to leave this world. And I was coherent, mind you. I was just tripping off of some ketamine. And I remember I was in that moment. And it was a very defining moment, despite it being, you know, a hallucination, that I kept saying, I was like, this is it then. Like, this is it. I don't get to say goodbye. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get to say goodbye to my family. Like, I'm going to die right here. And that's it. My daughter's going to be left by herself. My son's going to be left by himself. Like, I don't get to say goodbye to any of my family. And it was very awful. So there's that. And I remember after I did finally wake up and realize it was a dream, I was staring at the wall and seeing like a bunch of Alice in Wonderland characters just like in different colors. What's interesting is I'm a recovering drug addict from back in 2009, and I'm used to ketamine and what ketamine does, but like I've been in K-holes before and everything, but this was different. Like this was, I mean, you don't use for so long that like when you finally do get like a high dose of it for pain and everything in surgery, that it hit me hard. It was very very horrible. So anyway, after I got my thyroid out, I had a post-surgical issue because my body doesn't do good with surgeries, and that was when you get your thyroid taken out. If you have had a goiter as big as I did, if you have a fall as hard as I did, what is that? Life Alert is there for you. Well, nobody was there for me except for my endosurgeon. And so anyway, when you have a goiter as big as I did and it gets prodded, even touched a little bit, even if I still had it and I poked it, it floods your body with hormones, like floods your body with hormones. So I guess it was like a last ditch effort. A lot of people who have their thyroid taken out go through it. Basically what happens is your thyroid gets taken out, your body can't compensate for what was in there. It's trying to produce a hormone that doesn't exist. So any residual hormones that are left in your body floods out through the blood, and it makes you go crazy. So essentially I started going crazy like the day after my surgery, the same as when I went into a psychosis in 2022. It only had lasted for 3 days, thankfully. I was prescribed Klonopin and was fine, but that was an awful situation. And then the real problems started. So I ended up getting healthy in 2023. My summer was amazing. I was kayaking. I was walking everywhere. Unfortunately, I was still getting used to my levels. I did put on a large amount of weight. They did find cancer in my thyroid. I was stage 1 papillary thyroid carcinoma. Basically, it was contained, meaning that it did not escape into my body. It did not get into my lymph nodes. I am grateful for that. Very thankful for that. But what's, like I said prior, I said my CT scans, ultrasounds didn't show anything. When they took out my thyroid was covered in nodules and tumors. I had a tumor that was 8 millimeters big. That's not very big. That's like this big. It was very small in my throat. But it's the fact that they found the cancer, they found a tumor, they found nodules. My thyroid was destroyed. Okay. So anyway, like I said, I had gotten healthy. To this day, I am absolutely miserable. I got my thyroid out. It's completely changed my life. My health is awful. It's at an all-time low. I might not look it because I have a nice, like $500 light on my face. I have I have makeup caked on my face. I mean, you can see the weight, but like, you can't really see that I'm very sick. So I feel like I'm on a manic rant. I'm going to crash, and I still have to do the ASMR thing. So I'm glad I'm just talking at a normal pace. Hopefully I don't jinx myself, knock on wood, because I have so much to say. Because I don't talk. I don't like talk to anybody nowadays. I have 2 best friends, Shiloh and Heather. They are the most amazing women I have ever met. I am blessed for them. I could do a video just strictly on them alone, but I am gatekeeping those girls. They are mine. You know what I mean? Like, I adore them and love them with all of my heart. And if it weren't for them, I don't know where I would be today. So anyway, yeah, they found all that in my thyroid. I had a tube in my throat. They ended up pulling it out. That was awful. The post-surgical issues were awful. I didn't have post-AFib with that surgery. However, I had my calcium dropped real low. I had to have a calcium infusion. That's what happens. Anybody, almost like a huge percentage of people who get their thyroid out because of Graves' disease or the other, like, Hashimoto's, not hypothyroid, which is hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's disease, all end up like their calcium drops rapidly because your parathyroids can't work properly, blah, blah, blah. Thyroid can't work properly. So my calcium dropped. I ended up in the ER twice. And you're going to see a pattern here because of my issues, not being able to get into a doctor soon enough. Most people end up going to the ER. And my ER's solution to everything is giving you a CT scan. So I've had enough radiation in the past year to equal out to a person who's had chemotherapy, losing my hair like a chemotherapy patient because I've had such extreme, I was going to say so much such, and it, connected, such extreme radiation that it's completely destroyed my body. So anyway, or destroying my cells, my DNA, that's what radiation does. Went to the ER after my thyroid, like I said, got the infusion. I got healthy in the year of 2023. I did. I really did. As much, of the weight that I did put on, I was healthy, I was happy, I was thriving, I was sleeping, I was doing amazing. So I've got my little list here. And we are 30 minutes in. I said 15, but I did talk fast, so hopefully you can take breaks. But here is my little list of my issues. So, after my thyroid things started going, I started having eye issues. And now we're getting into present day, I guess. I'm not doing the timeline with this. Many of you also know my back issues with my osteoarthritis. I ended up getting another lower lumbar MRI and was diagnosed with like bone spurs, more tears, more swelling. My back, they say, is the back of an 80-year-old man. It is awful. I am in chronic pain consistently and constantly. I am not like ashamed to say that even though I am an addict, I will be on some type of opioid medication for the rest of my life. Like, I will be, no matter what, no matter how much yoga I do, no matter how much exercise I get, no matter how much healthy eating I give, my back is so destroyed to the point there is no fixing it. So I don't care what anybody has to say about that. I will die on that hill. I will forever, unfortunately, be on some kind of opioid for chronic pain. It is vicious, the stuff my back goes through. It's vicious what I go through on a daily basis, and I don't even care to say that anymore. I have suffered to the point that there have been multiple times where I felt that I would be better off not in this flesh suit anymore, this flesh suit of pain and horribleness. So anyway, back to the quick timeline here. My eyes started going crazy. So right now they're not flared up as much. One is bigger than the other. You might not be able to see. If I really relax, you can kind of see it. Like if I just relax, you can see the size. Like I still have muscle damage in the corner. Graves' disease doesn't just go away completely. It doesn't go 100% into remission once you have your thyroid taken out. In my case, it decided to come back and attack my eyes. So I ended up having to go to the West Virginia Eye Institute, which the most amazing people. I participated in a study, and fun fact, which I was like shocked when they told me. So I have a disease. It's not a disease, it's a dystrophy, okay? I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease. That's what I said earlier. Stargardt's is some kind of I have multiple dystrophies in one eye. One eye, okay? I have the gene for it. I agreed to do testing. I am only one of several in the world with this unknown named dystrophy. And it's scary because there's not enough studies on it. It's like gene 1576 or something. I might have to get the name. But there's the only other people in the world who have it are over in Germany and Czechoslovakia. And I am here in America, me and I guess one other person who has this dystrophy, allegedly. So altogether, I think she said like 7. There were 7 people in the world, and I am like one of those people. So I'm a rare breed, even though I am riddled with disease. I am a rare breed. That's awful. That's not something to be proud of. But I was also diagnosed with Stargardt's disease. So it makes sense why my one eye is just kind of hanging there. It just decided to start flaring up later on in life after I got my thyroid out. So that is wonderful. I was taking something called Upni-Q for a while, which I would only put it in one eye, which would be the dystrophied eye that would open it and make my eyes appear even though they're not. I'm doing awful with that. So the reason that my eye is darker on this eye, you might not be able to see it, but the reason it's darker is because there is pigment that is leaking all through the back of my eye. I am early cataracts, it's really awful. I am already legally blind. So I was going through for like a period of several months from like August last year up until like January of trying to figure out what's wrong with my eyes. In that time, because of like my thyroid and everything, I started going hypo again because of the weight gain, my body not being able to compensate for the medication I'm on. If I don't take my medication, I'll die. It's levothyroxine, aka Synthroid. I'm trying to get switched over to brand name Synthroid because there's a bunch of generic ingredients that I think is messing with me. In the time that I'm dealing with, and you're going to hear me out of breath, and that's because of the fluid around my heart. In the time that it's taken, like my eye, to casually heal or like to get diagnosed with something with my eye, I have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. My gallbladder's distended. I have my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Everybody knows, if you've known me and my story with my mother, I do not drink alcohol. My therapist always makes fun of me because I talk like this in therapy. I'm like, I do not do this. And he's like, I have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I've had it forever. I got diagnosed probably back in 2018, 2019. I changed my eating habits. My body just has a problem. They don't know why non-alcoholic fatty liver disease occurs. There's theories, there's talks, but there's multiple reasons why it could occur. So in my case, my liver went from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease to now I have lesions and cysts all through my liver, meaning that my liver's not going to be able to fight for me for the rest of my life. There's no way. Not with how destroyed, diseased, disgusting it is. I've changed my eating habits. I've quit smoking. I have done everything I possibly can. There's always a way to do better. However, I'm not doing good. So we're at pretty much present day. I have started experiencing shortness of breath. Every time I do my daily walk, I get a notification on my watch that my VO2 is down, which is like the volume of oxygen in my blood is very low. I was wondering what was causing it. So, of course, my emergency room, I went twice. I ended up getting excruciatingly sick. My immune system's compromised because of Graves' disease and, everything like that. I'm anemic. There's all this different stuff going on. And so I get sick often. I get repeated throat infections. I've had like 6 throat infections in the past summer, last summer till now, which is March of 2024. But I ended up getting severe strep throat to the point that it got in my eyes. Yes, strep throat can get in your eyes. It can cause pink eye. It can get into your skin. It'll cause rashes. You can get scarlet fever from strep throat. So I ended up getting it. I went to the ER because my fever was 103.9 or something. I was like really sick. If you guys follow my Instagram, you can find out all my personal life over there. I always post all my stories over there. I feel at home over there, like posting my personal stuff, and I have a bunch of different friends on different platforms. So like OF people back in the day are all over on X. All my Harry Potter friends in real life are over on Instagram, and all of my personal, like, I guess more connected people are on Facebook. It's just interesting. It's interesting how all those people follow, but Instagram's like easier. So right now I'm like holding my chest because I'm getting out of breath. I'm talking a lot, but that is part of what's going on. So anyway, when I went for strep, they didn't test for strep. My ER decided to just put me in the CT scanner. Because of me not being able to catch my breath, I ended up having a severe stomach flu, which they think that's probably why I have fluid around my heart. They ordered an MRI and they ordered a CT scan on the same day. I refused gadolinium for the MRI because of the issues I already have. Gadolinium is a earth element. It is not safe for somebody who doesn't have a thyroid. You can tell me you've had gadolinium until you're blue in the face. I will never get gadolinium unless I am in a life-threatening situation that I need it. It kills people, it disables people. Look it up. Look up what gadolinium has done to people in the past 5 years. However, I go and get iodine, which is what happened. So 2 weeks ago, I ended up having my appointment for my CT scan. It was my 13th CT scan in a period of 1 year. That is enough radiation, the same equivalent as somebody with chemo with where I was getting my CT scans at. There's different amounts of radiation in the body for different parts. So like for your abdomen, you're getting like 8 times the normal background limit of normal radiation we would experience at home. For something like your arm or your brain, you would get less radiation, etc., etc. So you get what I'm saying. I go in for this CT scan and I lay down. And let's not forget the CT scan I had in 2019 where the woman put it in my hand. I went to the same place, mind you, but I knew what to ask for. I asked if they could put it in at a 1.2 speed instead of like a 3 or a 4, which they do for like cardiac CTs. So long story short, I lay down these people. Oh, in 2019, not recently. They put the IV in my hand. You're not supposed to put an IV in the hand ever to give contrast, iodine contrast. I am so sick of people in the medical field. I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care that you've been, whatever, because certain nurses believe certain things. And I'm not talking about, like, this is not towards the nursing community. Get this out of your head right now. This is not me insulting the nursing community. I'm like, I don't care if you're a nurse. No, that's not what I mean. Like, what I mean is some people think because they can get away with it in the medical field, they're going to do it. And that has to do with nurses in some areas and realms. At this place in particular, there was a nurse at the time who said, I know you're not supposed to do it, but we can usually do it without issue. We've never had an issue. We're doing it anyway, but we've never had an issue. So please, I will back this up till the day. I was not insulting all nurses. You guys are heroes, angels, but there's bad apples in every group, and these are them. So she puts the IV in my hand. The IV blows, of course, when they put in the iodine contrast. All the contrast filters through my arm, my hand. It was excruciatingly painful, burning my flesh. I'm screaming, very dramatic. Drama. And yeah, so I was traumatized from that, like, just scared to go back. But then after having multiple issues, getting my thyroid out, getting all this other stuff, you learn to adapt back, knowing that it could potentially be life-threatening. You have to get it. The iodine is what, lights up the body under the CT scan, under the radiation. So 13 CTs later, here we are in a year, I'm getting these amazing, wonderful nurses. The MRI goes effortlessly. I refuse the gadolinium. The MRI goes well. I love MRIs. I think they're fun because they're loud. I always like pretend I'm rapping in the MRI machine whenever it's like dun 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 dun. I'm like making up lyrics, my little white self. Like, well, I guess not little anymore. Like I love the MRI. I'll do the MRI all day because it doesn't harm your body. It's fine. Now, if you take the gadolinium, that's another story. CT scans, on the other hand, the amount of radiation that I've gotten again in the year is insane. They put the iodine in. The guys even came out and sat with me till the iodine went up my arm. It was a beautiful flush. The IV was great. They always put the needle in here. You can actually see all the track marks from getting blood work biweekly in the past 2 years. Goes up my arm, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden, it's done. They pull me out. I start feeling horrible. I start feeling like I'm going to die. I'm like, okay, I'm about to have a panic attack. My heart rate just goes from 0, do, 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 do. It was 130, 140. I feel hot. I feel like I'm melting. I didn't even know your body could feel that hot. I don't care if anybody has ever had an allergic reaction, has ever had this, because that's what it was, and I didn't know it. Please comment below if you've ever felt that burn sensation, that it felt like my head was 300 degrees. I don't care if the body dies at 107 or brain damage happens at 107. I'm talking 300 degrees it felt like. All of a sudden, my bones, it feels like I need to scratch inside my bones. I feel like it was awful. They're looking at me. They go and get the cart to take my stats. They're doing all kinds of stuff. The one woman's thinking I'm having a panic attack, which, there was anxiety, but they're looking at me. They're like, oh, you don't look like you have any rashes. And then they sat with me for a while, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, are you ready? They walked me to the changing room. They're like, she must have, we don't know what happened. She must maybe had a panic attack, maybe obviously not an allergic reaction. I take off my clothes when I get into the changing room after feeling like I want to rip the flesh off my body. Oh my God, if this was an edited video, I'm doing so well, it's not going to be edited. I'm not posting photos. I could post it in the description, or if you remind me in the comments. I was covered. My body looked like it had bumps everywhere. My arms turned rock hard for some reason. I was covered in welts, hives, my stomach, my breasts. My body was hot. I felt like I wanted to tear off my skin. But the problem was my bones felt itchy. My insides turned so hot. I felt like I had just been burnt. And the reason that that's a problem, having an allergic reaction to iodine for my very first time, over 13 CT scans with iodine in the past year, is the fact that the amount of radiation that you're getting. So I felt like I had been radiologically burnt, I guess you could say. I still don't know. Apparently I just had an allergic reaction, but if that was an allergic reaction, that was the worst allergic reaction I've ever had, because I'm allergic to penicillin and amoxicillin, and it doesn't feel anything the way that it felt that day. So I get the results back from that. CT scan shows I have a small pericardial effusion around my heart. I didn't know what that was. I called my cardiologist when I got the results back. In my area, I'm not sure if it's the same for you. I didn't get my doctor, to call back at once, because I always see the results before, she does. It was before the weekend, so I get to see them on my chart and look at all my results. I called later on that day on a Friday. I called my cardiologist, and they were like, yes, that's fluid around your heart. Let's get you, when I breathe in, you might be able to hear it. That's the fluid. It's called the pericardic rub or something along those lines. They get me in. I go on Monday or Tuesday, I believe. my PCP messages, says it's good. I made the appointment, and then we're waiting on the MRI results. So that was the only thing on the CT scan. They did a CT of my abdomen or my upper chest, found the fluid around my heart. Now, I told you about how whenever we were walking and things, I had low oxygen in the blood. My O2 was down. I can't catch my breath. Feels like there's somebody sitting on my chest, like 20 pounds. I was talking on Instagram stories about this today. The symptoms are awful. They are excruciating and debilitating. And because of this fluid, I have to do nothing. I literally have to do nothing for like the next, 3 months until this heals. I have an echocardiogram in like a week to see how much fluid. The issue with pericardial effusion is how much fluid can happen and why it happens. So did I get this because of my severe stomach flu I had last month whenever I pissed myself from vomiting so hard? Did I get this from too much radiation in the CT scans, which chemotherapy patients get pericardial effusion? Did I get it from that? Did I get it from hypothyroidism, which is another thing? I have chronic hypothyroidism because my medications are never equal and my Graves' disease acting up, which causes reverse hyperthyroidism. Nobody knows where it's from yet. I'm about to find out in a couple days. So I have to sit. I take a medication now called iromethazine. And the reason that pericardial effusion is serious is because it can turn into what's called cardiac tamponade, which is when there's so much fluid around your heart, it compresses the heart, stops the heart in sudden death, or shuts your body down. So hopefully that doesn't happen to me in the next week. I get my MRI results back. My liver is covered in lesions and cysts. Not only that, I have cysts on my kidneys. I have a swollen, quote unquote, swollen bile duct of unknown etiology, meaning nobody knows why my bile duct is swollen. Your bile duct is between your gallbladder and your liver. It's what helps filter the bile to be broken down. With my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, my liver pretty much about to be in cirrhosis, if it's not already, can't filter the bile in. So because my gallbladder is also distended 7 millimeters, I think the normal is like 4, some less than. If I'm wrong, correct me. And if I'm wrong on any of this, correct me please in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I know at this point what's going on in my body. Sadly. Then my liver can't compensate if I get my gallbladder out. I would love to show you how bloated I am right now to show you why this is such a problem, but it's humiliating, which means I'm about to show you anyway. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Yesterday, my blood sugar went up to 500. They say anything over 250 is a medical emergency. My A1C is 5.9%. So you're probably thinking, especially if you have type 1 or, type 1 diabetes mellitus or type 2 or whatever, whether it was inherited or developed. People say that type 1 is something, I think it's inherited, they say, but that's not true. People can develop it at any point in their life. I'm over here with my 5.9 A1C, and that was tested back in January. That doesn't have anything to do with now. So my average glucose level is 123. That's fasting. So in the American Health Organization, 5.7 is when it cuts off to normal for women ages 30 to 39. So I'm 33 this year. My A1C is 5.9, so I'm a pre-diabetic, average 123. So the past few days, past few weeks, I've had like tingling in my hands. I've had numbness in my feet. I get dizzy when I stand up. That could be from the fluid around my heart. I'm fucking horrified. Like when I stop and think about all this, how I'm just rambling and ranting and rambling and ranting and manic, and we're like almost an hour in of talking about how my body has just turned on me is horrifying. I cry every day about this stuff. And the reason I'm even telling you guys all this is to say I'm taking back any time that I have ever said I was lazy about my work. There are days that I wake up and I feel fine and I'm like, I'm taking this day to rest. I'm taking this day for my mental health. But back in the day, people, have said, you're lazy, you don't have a posting schedule, you don't do this. You don't know what it's like to lay in bed all day sick. You don't know. You don't know what it's like to be chronically ill. Chronically is consistent. I am consistently sick every day of my life. You want to play the little violin for me? Go ahead. I don't care. It's awful to feel the way I feel every single damn day of my life. It is horrifyingly awful. It's horrifying when your kids want to take a walk. It's horrifying whenever your kids want to go play outside and want you to jump on the trampoline with them, but you can't because mommy at 33 years old has a bad back, or mommy at 33 years old can't keep up with her kids. She has to sleep and nap all the time because she doesn't have a thyroid to compensate for her energy. It's awful. It makes me feel terrible. So anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but my sugars shot up. Mind you, this was like an hour after I ate. I didn't wait for the 2-hour mark to check. And it was like 500. So we're still trying to figure that out and hoping I don't go into, diabetes. People with Graves' disease, people with hypothyroidism often, or just autoimmune diseases like what, most autoimmune disease patients develop diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, it's Sjorgen, Sjorgen syndrome, ankyolitis, spondylitis, something with your bones, something with your autoimmune. It's all relative chronic immune patients. And so I'm dealing with the prediabetes. Recently, I went to my first rheumatologist, and he tested me, I think, for over like 18 to 20 something blood tests for rheumatoid arthritis, lupus. A long time ago, my positive ANA, which is just positive antibodies, basically meaning that there is something attacking my autoimmune, my immune system's attacking myself. It's attacking me at the moment that was taken. Last time I had that blood test with the lupus test, it came back negative. This time it came back positive. The issue with all this is I have every symptom. I haven't been tested for MS yet. I don't think there are tests for MS. However, I know lupus symptoms can mimic that, and I'm waiting on those. Let's see. Did I miss anything else on my little list here? Fibromyalgia, got diagnosed with that. There was an episode I had like 2 weeks ago. It was the night of the father-daughter dance. Last year I went with Satori. She wanted me to go on the father-daughter dance. Things were really bad. So she wanted me to go in replacement of Victor, and I had a blast, and I felt good because I had just got my thyroid out. I was just getting healthy. And then this year, on the day that my daughter and her husband went, ex-partner, whatever, they came home, and she was so beautiful and radiant. My son and I watched Day of the Dead, is it? Yeah, whenever that guy's like, the sky flowers. I don't know the actors' names. We watched it, we were doing fine, and all of a sudden, this burning pain in my left arm, well, both arms, but it was mostly my left arm burning. I've never felt in my life, and I was like holding onto my arm. I'm like, am I having a heart attack? Like, what's going on here? I was in tears. I put ice on it. It burned worse. I don't know what happened. Talked to one of my 20 doctors, and they said that it was probably a fibromyalgia attack. I don't know anything about fibromyalgia right now. I'm still learning. It's a new diagnosis I'm still living with. To sum this up, my little book here, we done with all my little diagnoses? I'm special because I'm 1 in like 7 in the world for an unknown dystrophy in my eye. That's something to be proud of, My last video on this channel, I was nominated to be in Johnstown Magazine, which I have a little surprise coming up next month too. If it is next month or the month after, I'm not sure. And that's an honor, and it's an honor for all the opportunities that I've been given in my life. But when you're sick, man, it's like I'm living in a trapped body. I feel so awful. Like, I am so bloated. Like, I don't know if you can see this organ right here, but it's protruding. And this is where, like, my stomach or lower intestines are. I am, like, it's, there's the jiggle, but underneath that, it's rock hard with inflammation. I have been blessed, like I said, I have been truly, with all of my person, blessed in this life. Blessed. Blessed. I am honored to live the life I do. But I live in a prison. I live in a prison, and it's taking its toll on me and my mental health. Watching my body turn on me the way that it is, and quickly too. And I hope that, all my little enemies are very happy that Miss Karuna is sick. I know you guys really love to put down the fact that I can't help what's going on with my body and the suffering I endure. And I'm so glad that, there are people out there that actually get a kick out of suffering. Like, genuinely get a kick because they don't like me as a person and obsess over my life so much. We're in 2024, and people are still on that kick of, like, gossiping. There's reasons for that, and that's a wonderful thing. And I think that there should be opinion for everything. But whenever it comes to things that I truly can't help with my life, is awful. It's evil. It's disgusting. I cannot imagine. I don't know. But it's sick. It's really sick. I can't help. I really can't help what's happening. I'm scared every day. I'm scared my heart's going to stop. I'm scared I'm going to die in my sleep and I'm going to leave my kids behind. I'm scared it's going to hurt. I'm scared, like, it's going to hurt and I'm going to be alone when it happens. I'm scared. And again, like I said in the beginning, I don't have any family, like real family. I don't like any blood family. Like, I can't call my dad. I don't want to call my mom, whether she's dead or alive. I don't want to call, like, you know what I mean? But I have my two best friends, but I don't ever burden them, like, with deep issues. I'm just tired. I'm very tired. And I'm living in a prison in my own body. I've changed my eating. I've stopped smoking. I exercise as much as my body allows. I go to yoga. I stretch in the morning. Shut up. No. I do what I can as much as my body allows. But it's awful living in bed all the time. It's awful. Today, it's funny, right before I filmed this video, my PCP called and she said, I'm going to refer you to surgery, the surgery department for my gallbladder because it's swollen. So what? I, live with my eroding liver, my non-existent thyroid, my constant swollen lymph nodes of unknown etiology, my, living without a gallbladder. It's like, I have a bad feeling something awful is going to happen to me. And I'm tired of going through it. I am so tired of going through it. I mean, I could get all, the love and support and prayers and everything in the world, but it just doesn't help because it doesn't fix it. Hell, I've even prayed, and I'm not even religious, just begging, like, not to feel this way. I don't want to die, and I feel like that's the path that I'm on. I really do. And I don't want to die suddenly. I don't want to have a stroke. I don't want to go into, like, a diabetic coma. I don't want this. And I don't know why my body's turning on me. Like, I don't know if it's because I went and got a bunch of plastic surgeries in the past. I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I deserve this or did anything to deserve what's happening to me. So, I made this video to give a little update as to why I don't post as often. I was doing so good the past couple months. Like you guys know, I mean, 3 to 4 videos a week. I couldn't believe it. But I don't feel ashamed anymore for not being able to do what my body won't allow me to do. I've had to learn to accept the reality of my situation and The reality of my situation is I am not healthy right now. I'm very chronically sick. And I'm scared. Like, I'm scared. I'm scared. So if you made it this far, thank you. Comment some kind of emoji. Just comment an emoji. And any questions, I'll be in the comments or I'll make a follow-up video. But today's update was about my health. I'm really glad this video is under an hour, and I'm going to end it. If nobody's told you they loved you today, family, I want you to know that I love you with all of my person. And thanks for listening to my tiny violin sob story. It sucks. I don't wish it on anyone. Bye.